Good afternoon. Welcome to the Redevelopment Agency meeting for March 8th, 2022. Items listed on the agenda may be taken out of order. Two or more agenda items for consideration may be combined, and any item on the agenda may be removed or related discussion may be delayed at any time. I'll call the meeting to order. Madam City Clerk, can we have confirmation of the agenda posting and the roll call?
Yes, the agenda was posted in accordance with open meeting law, and we have all members present.
Thank you. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll have our first public comment period. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. Each person will have up to 5 minutes. And as always, we ask speakers to be civil and concise. Is there anyone present in chambers that would like to speak in public comment? All right, we will take any callers. Anyone wishing to call in for public comment, the phone number is 702-589-9629. This is the initial public comment period for the Redevelopment Agency meeting. Anyone wishing to call in, the phone number is 702-589-9629. Madam City Clerk, were there any emails received for public comment?
No comments were received.
Thank you. Hearing no one for public comment, we will close the initial public comment period. Move to item number 1 for possible action, approval of the minutes for the December 14th, 2021 RDA meeting. Any changes or corrections?
No changes from staff.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to make a motion for acceptance of the minutes?
I make a motion to accept the minutes from the December 14th meeting.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We'll move to item number 2, Resolution 238. Mr. City Manager.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and agency members. Rafi Festekjian, the city's Economic Development Coordinator, will be presenting this grant request from Desert Sun Realty pertaining to their exterior signage.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. The City of Boulder City's Redevelopment Agency has been established to assist businesses and property owners interested in projects aimed at revitalizing the property within the redevelopment area boundary limits. Brett Runyon from Desert Sun Realty has applied for the city's RDA Commercial 50/50 Signage Grant Program. The property is located at 1220 Arizona Street and was formerly known as Nevada Drug. Mr. Runyon purchased the vacant property 15 years ago. With the assistance of the city's RDA funding, Mr. Runyon renovated the property at the time to address the safety concerns and to ensure that the building was up to code. Mr. Runyon is proposing to invest approximately $16,581 to repair and restore the exterior pole signage that is located on the roof of the building. The sign improvements include replacement of the transformer and the gassing down unit to make the neon lights functional, replacement of the polycarbonate signs, converting the existing lights to LED, and painting the pole sign. Mr. Runyon would be eligible for up to 50% reimbursement of funds through the city's 50/50 RDA signage grant program. Based on eligible expenses, he could receive up to $8,290.60 in reimbursements. The RDA budget is $180,000 for this fiscal year. If the RDA agency recommends approval of this project under consideration this evening, slightly over $110,000 would remain available this fiscal year for other projects. I'll be happy to take any questions along with Mr. Runyon, who is in attendance tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Member Adams?
Thank you, Mayor, or Chairman. Mr. Runyon, regarding the sign, I know, I guess I just wanted a little bit of clarity because I see both the degassing unit and also LED light replacement. So is the LED lights for that yellow cabinet?
Everything on the sign will be LED with the exception of the neon RX, which is a historic feature of the sign.
Right, so the RX will maintain the neon then?
Yeah, and I was very insistent on that. You can try, but you can't duplicate neon with anything but neon. So
No,
that's really, I insisted on that. And the initial bids that came in didn't include that except Yesco. And the other two had to figure out ways because nobody does neon anymore.
Right.
It was a real challenge.
I appreciate that attention to detail. Like you said, neon has a very special element, and I think that is
For
part
sure.
of that historic character. You know, I guess for nostalgic reasons, you know, of course, I'd love to see it still say Nevada Drug, but that might not be the most accurate these days, and I understand that.
For a long period of time, I had people coming trying to buy merchandise in my store. So
Yeah.
I took out drug. It used to say Nevada Drug
Right.
for a long time. I took down drug, so now it just says Nevada.
But I do appreciate it. I think this still stays in line and in fit with what was there, and I think keeping that the RX feature there on top and making sure that's neon, I think that it really does go to show that there is an attention to detail that I think is important when we're talking about funds like this.
I am really insistent on restoring when I can in this town, whether it be homes or commercial buildings. I'm much more likely to restore than to try to renew projects, and there's a lot of that. And the building that we're in right now was a good example of that, and the way we really tried to take it back to the origins of its way it started. And that sign has obviously been there a very, very long time. I tried, but I could not find the exact year that sign was installed, but maybe the mayor or chairman would recall that.
It was before my time.
Okay, just checking. Okay.
I have no further comments or questions.
Thank you. Anyone else? Member Bridges?
Hi, Claudia.
Good. I was just curious. Kept looking back and forth. Now, the final decision was where it says Nevada would be white, black on white, as opposed to the yellow polycarbonate.
I'm a little torn there, honestly. That's the low bid.
Right.
But Yesco has such a reputation, and I still, I assume that wouldn't affect, it wouldn't, let's see, I'm going with the request on the low bid.
Sure. Right.
Okay.
Just want to clarify, the reimbursement is based on the lowest bid, and the applicant has the right to choose any of the three contractors.
So the different sign companies, the life expectancy on those white signs is rather limited. And that's a major expense and it's not easy to get up there and change that. So the yellow face that's on there has been there for many, many years, and it's a corrugated material they don't make anymore. Yesco says that they would be willing to, and their bid at the $20,000 would be to cut individual letters and replace them on that yellow background. All the letters would be made out of polycarbonate instead of made out of vinyl. The white signs all have vinyl lettering on them, and most people won't give you more than 12 to 18 months of warranty on that, which is amazing to me, to spend $20,000 and have something that may not last that long. But we've all seen those signs around town that blister or turn brown, and that's something I definitely don't want. So to know that that yellow's probably been there 50 years or more, if I'm able to salvage that, I might. But it would, the same, the Yesco bid is the one with the yellow.
I think, personally, I think the yellow is consistent with the current look. I would drive down there and expect to see that yellow sign.
Well, I am prepared to pay the extra to go that route. Nobody else was willing to do that. Only Yesco was willing to do that. And of course, they've been around for 100 years or more, and they're the original installers of that sign.
And they do the neon for the R?
They actually have a neon shop still on site at Yesco. I verified that.
Oh, okay, great.
So they are the biggest sign company in Las Vegas, doing more of the big signs than anyone else. You pay for it, no question, but that's where I'm at right now. And the hope is that they can do that without breaking the yellow while they're up there, and they won't guarantee that either. So I have some hurdles to clear.
Sure.
But it's kind of interesting. Those letters that are there now are individually cut, and they're actually attached to that yellow with little cotter pins. And it's an amazing process, but that's what we're going to try to duplicate. But that would require drilling all new holes in that yellow sign and attaching to it.
Okay.
Interesting, huh?
Yes.
And I got up there on the lift with them so I could see exactly what everybody was talking about.
That would look awesome, though, to have it on the yellow with the neon.
That's my vote right now, if we can pull that off.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Anyone else? Again, I appreciate too the attention to detail you're putting into it.
Thank you.
This is a great program we have through the RDA, and this is an excellent example of
Thank you.
putting it to use.
I see a lot of people cut corners on a lot of projects, and it's something I hate to do, and that's the reason it's taken me 15 years to make the commitment. It's a lot of money, and it's hard to justify sometimes, but again, 15 years later, I'm prepared to do that. I'm certainly grateful that RDA helped me with the first project, and I think it turned out very well. I took a vacant, boarded up drugstore during the recession and turned it into a hub of activity where we now are probably one of the largest employers, private businesses in downtown Boulder City. So it has, the RDA fund was well used there.
Very good. I will make the motion for approval of resolution number 238.
I'll
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you, Mr. Runyon.
Thank you.
Mr. Fitzsection, thank you. Brings us to item number 3, resolution number 239. Mr. City Manager?
Yes, Michael Mays, the Assistant Executive Director, will be going over the Modified Historic Preservation Grant Program guidelines for you.
Good afternoon. Goal D Strategy 5 of the city's 2025 strategic plan has one of its objectives to identify financial incentives to promote historic preservation by the development of a new RDA grant program. In 2020, the RDA board did just that and created that new grant program to incentivize reinvestment and preservation of historic properties within the RDA. Over the last several months, the Historic Preservation Committee has discussed proposed changes to those guidelines, and their proposed changes are before you this afternoon. In summary, the major modifications to the guidelines would include that all of the work, not just the work seeking reimbursement, must comply with the Secretary of Interior's standards for preservation, that following the completion of the work, the building either would be a contributing property to the historic district or as a result of the work would become a contributing property to the historic district, and that the term of the agreement, which was originally 10 years, be modified to 20 years. This is the agreement that obligates the applicant to preserve the improvements and the historical significance of that property. I have provided in the staff report the original 2020 design guidelines and the proposed changes. And of course, you have Resolution 239 for consideration regarding proposed changes to those guidelines.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Member Bridges?
Yes, thank you. I did have a question. I was wondering why remediation treatments were removed, like asbestos, electric, and so on.
The committee felt that that shouldn't be the priority of this grant program. It should be in other areas, and that was per their recommendation.
Okay. Thank you.
Member Jorgensen?
I'm going to piggyback off that just a little bit. If that's required to be able to get that building up to code, then that's part of the expense overall to get it back where it needs to be, right?
Correct.
Okay, so excluding that from that, then does not, that means the full sum of that has to come from the person who is restoring the property.
That is correct.
Okay, and also my question was, I see in here it talks about bringing it completely up, and I know that I asked you this question on Monday when we discussed this, bringing it back to a contributing property. I think we have a good circumstance here that just came before us with the sign, bringing the partial building, I mean the actual building, but not the sign up to full contributing, but now possibly bringing it all the way back to contributing. Why is it not that we are able to provide funds if they're moving towards contributing, but not quite there yet? Because it could be costly to do all at once.
Yeah, certainly these are recommendations by the Historic Preservation Committee, and the board can make modifications as you see fit.
I think I would like to see that, just because if our overall goal for historic preservation is to get something back to or continue to keep it at, the cost involved in that for a business owner or for someone who comes in can be quite excessive. And that's I mean, for someone to want to come in and do that on top of wanting to bring in their business plan, it takes extra for them to want to do that. So I guess I would also like to see included somewhere in there the ability for them to come in, and if they had to do it in steps or whatever because of the cost of it, that they had that option too. As long as it was bringing it back and or bringing it to the exact historic way that it was before.
Other questions or comments? Member Adams?
Thank you, Chairman. I think, for me, the most important aspect here is the fact that following the completion of the work, that it would be a contributing part of our historic district. I think to fund something with historic RDA grants that then would not actually be considered to be contributing to our historic district, I think it kind of defeats the purpose of the historic RDA, the historic preservation RDA grant. We do have an RDA grant for non projects that would not contribute to historic preservation. So I think for me the most important thing is that if they are to get this, the intent of this goal is to bring our historic properties into that that state of contributing. So to me, I think we absolutely need to make sure that this grant does just that, that it is only for that work that would be contributing at the end of by the end of that project.
Member Jorgensen?
Yes. Okay, so as far as this grant goes, it's 50% match, and then the other one's a 30%, correct? With a limit of,
Is it $99,000?
this one's 99, and the 30% one is
It's the same
the
limit.
same limit. So I can see what you're saying, and I understand. I guess my thought process is, our goal is to get them to contributing, and if to do the entire project is not feasible, to even get it halfway there and then halfway again, seems a positive direction. That's just my thought.
You know, I'd like to go back a little ways on what this program is about or how it came about. There was $0 available under the RDA grants for any interior work. There was the 30% match available for some exterior work, but certainly not all exterior work. The idea behind this grant was specifically to encourage people to restore a property or to bring it back to a contributing state. It's not to pay for things. So I think if that's the focus that you want to place on something, it shouldn't be done under a historic preservation grant. There's something else that might be done, which again, the RDA never provided for any of this type of work to be done as far as the interior goes. And I believe if you look at the Secretary of Interior standards, it does not allow for bringing things up to code necessarily. If that is part of the project, then that's just part of the project. The fact is we are putting money into people's pockets out of this program to promote historic preservation and restoration of properties, and not just to say, well, we're going to give you money to fix things up, because the RDA never did that in the past. It was never the goal of the RDA to do that in the past. Is that accurate, Mr. Mays, that we did not, the RDA funds did not provide for interior work?
That is correct, with the exception of limited life safety improvements.
Right. So again, I feel that the recommendations that have come from the Historic Preservation Committee are certainly cleaning up a lot of the issues that we had with this program in the past, making it much clearer. But to say that we're just going to keep broadening the program out, I think we've already made this about as generous of a program as you'd find anywhere. Anyone else? I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 239.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Nay.
Member Jorgensen is opposed to that. The motion passes 4-1. Mr. Mays, thank you for the preservation. Again, your work, City Planner Susan Danielowitz, the committee, I'm sure Northwind had something to do with this. It's a much clearer program now on what we're trying to accomplish.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move then to our last item now, public comment. Public comment during this period of the meeting may be on any issue. Again, speakers will have up to 5 minutes. Anyone in chambers that would like to speak in the final public comment period? Mr. Runyon?
I just wanted to voice my support for the RDA in general. I think it's done some great things in our town, and I think it's a wonderful program. And these guys do a great job administering it, and they were a lot of assistance. And anyway, just wanted to voice my support for the program as a whole.
Thank you. Anyone else present that would like to speak? All right, anyone wishing to call in? The phone number to call in is 702-589-9629. This is our final public comment period for the redevelopment agency meeting. Madam City Clerk, were there any emails received for the final public comment?
No comments were received.
Thank you. Again, this is our final public comment period for the redevelopment agency meeting. Anyone wishing to call, the number 702-589-9629. Hearing no others for the final public comment period, then we will close the comment period and we are adjourned. Thank you.